Welcome to January 23rd reading. We are on Job chapter 15. And now we are seeing Eliphaz, his second response to Job. Okay, so we'll see what he has to say now. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, "A wise man wouldn't answer with such empty talk. You are nothing but a windbag. The wise don't engage in empty chatter. What good are such words? Have you no fear of God, no reverence for him? Your sins are telling your mouth what to say. Your words are based on clever deception. Your own mouth condemns you, not I. Your own lips testify against you. Were you the first person ever born? Were you born before the hills were made? Were you listening at God's secret counsel? Do you have a monopoly on wisdom? What do you know that we don't? What do you understand that we do not? On our side are aged, gray-haired men, much older than your father. Is God's comfort too little for you? Is his gentle word not enough? What has taken away your reason? What has weakened your vision? That you turn against God and say all these evil things. Can any mortal be pure? Can anyone born of a woman be just? Look, God does not even trust the angels. Even the heavens are not absolutely pure in his sight. How much less pure is a corrupt and sinful person with a thirst for wickedness? If you will listen, I will show you. I will answer you from my own experience. And it is confirmed by the reports of wise men who have heard the same thing from their fathers, from those to whom the land was given, long before any foreigners arrived. The wicked writhe in pain throughout their lives. Years of trouble are stored up for the ruthless. The sound of terror rings in their ears. And even on good days, they fear the attack of the destroyer. They dare not go out into the darkness for fear they will be murdered. They wander around saying, "Where can I find bread?" They know their day of destruction is near. That dark day terrifies them. They live in distress and anguish like a king preparing for battle. For they shake their fists at God, defying the Almighty. Holding their strong shields, they defiantly charge against him. These wicked people are heavy and prosperous. Their waists bulge with fat, but their cities will be ruined. They will live in abandoned houses that are ready to tumble down. Their riches will not last, and their wealth will not endure. Their possessions will no longer spread across the horizon. They will not escape the darkness. The burning sun will wither their shoots, and the breath of God will destroy them. Let them no longer fool themselves by trusting in empty riches, for emptiness will be their only reward. Like trees, they will be cut down in the prime of their life. Their branches will never again be green. They will be like a vine whose grapes are harvested too early, like an olive tree that loses its blossoms before the fruit can form. For the godless are barren. Their homes enriched through bribery will burn. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. Their womb produces deceit. Wow. Job responds to Eliphaz, Job 16. Then Job spoke again. I've heard all this before. What miserable comforters you are. Won't you ever stop blowing hot air? What makes you keep on talking? I could say the same things if you were in my place. I could spout off criticism and shake my head at you. But if it were me, I would encourage you. I would try to take away your grief. Instead, I suffer if I defend myself, and I suffer no less if I refuse to speak. Oh God, you have ground me down and devastated my family. As if to prove I've sinned, you've reduced me to skin and bones. My gaunt flesh testifies against me. God hates me and angrily tears me apart. He snaps his teeth at me and pierces me with his eyes. People jeer and laugh at me. They slap my cheek in contempt. A mob gathers against me. God has handed me over to sinners. He has tossed me into the hands of the wicked. I was living quietly until he shattered me. He took me by the neck and he broke me in pieces. And then he set me up as his target, and now his archers surround me. His arrows pierce me without mercy. The ground is wet with my blood. Again and again he smashes against me, charging at me like a warrior. I wear burlap to show my grief. My pride lies in the dust. My eyes are red with weeping. Dark shadows circle my eyes. Yet I have done no wrong, and my prayer is pure. O earth, do not conceal my blood. Let it cry out on my behalf. Even now, My witness is in heaven. My advocate is there on high. My friends scorn me, but I pour out my tears to God. I need someone to mediate between God and me, as a person mediates between friends. For soon I must go down that road from which I will never return. Job 17, my spirit is crushed, and my life is nearly snuffed out. The grave is ready to receive me. I am surrounded by mockers. I watch how bitterly they taunt me. You must defend my innocence, O God, since no one else will stand up for me. You have closed their minds to understanding, but do not let them triumph. They betray their friends for their own advantage, so let their children faint with hunger. God has made a mockery of me among the people, and they spit in my face. My eyes are swollen with weeping, and I am but a shadow of my former self. The virtuous are horrified when they see me. The innocent rise up against the ungodly. The righteous keep moving forward, and those with clean hands become stronger and stronger. As for all of you, come back with a better argument, though I still won't find a wise man among you. My days are over. My hopes have disappeared. My heart's desires are broken. These men say that night is day, and they claim that the darkness is light. What if I go to the grave and make my bed in the darkness? What if I call the grave my father and the maggot my mother or my sister? Where then is my hope? Can anyone find it? No, my hope will go down with me to the grave. We will rest together in the dust. Job 18, this is Bildad now, speaking back up again as his second response to Job. And then Bildad, the Shuhite, replied, how long before you stop talking, Job? Speak sense if you want us to answer. Do you think we are mere animals? Do you think we're stupid? You may tear out all your hair in anger, but will that destroy the earth? Will it make the rocks tremble? Surely the light of the wicked will be snuffed out. The sparks of their fire will not glow. The light in their tent will grow dark. The lamp hanging above them will be quenched. The confident stride of the wicked will be shortened. Their own schemes will be their downfall. The wicked walk into a tent and they fall into a pit. A trap grabs them by the heel, and a snare holds them tight. A noose lies hidden on the ground. A rope is stretched across their path. Terrors surround the wicked and trouble them at every step. Hunger depletes their strength, and calamity waits for them to stumble. Disease eats their skin. Death devours their limbs. They are torn from the security of their homes and are brought down to the king of terrors. The home of the wicked will burn down. Burning sulfur rains on their houses. Their roots will dry up and their branches will wither, and all memory of their existence will fade from the earth. No one will remember their names. They will be thrust from light into darkness, driven from the world. They will have neither children nor grandchildren, nor any survivor in the place where they lived. People in the West are appalled at their fate, and people in the East are horrified. They will say, this was the home of a wicked person, the place of one who rejected God. I hope that you're really, capturing the gravity of the things that his supposed friends are saying to him. And again, this is a clash of worldviews, and they lived in, you're seeing their worldview, and we got to be really careful that we ourselves don't jump into the same kind of worldview. How often do people look at people who have lost things, people who maybe are poor, people who are suffering, and rush to judgment, right? That they deserve it. That if they were just lived right, that they would maybe be in a better position. So instead of having mercy, people jump to judgment pretty quickly. And so we just have to really make sure that we guard ourselves against that. So the next time you catch yourself kind of jumping to judgment about somebody, just be cautious about that. Because we don't always, in fact, most of the time, many times, we don't know the whole story that's going on in a person's life that has gotten them to the point where they're at. We don't know what has been done to them. We don't know what evil has been brought against them from people who are evil or wicked, or from the evil one himself. that has sent off a chain reaction in their life that has left them suffering and wounded on the side of the road. And so we just have to be really, really cautious that we ourselves don't grab a hold of that same worldview that these friends of Job held, because they just lay into him and continue to say, basically, what you're saying, Job, is wrong. You had to have done something to have deserved what you've gotten. Your children dying, your wealth being swept away, the sickness that's come upon your body. It could only be God judging you. It could only be your sin that has caused it. And as we know from the very beginning of the story, that was 100% not the case. And so it's a very important lesson for us to learn. And I think that that's one of the things that we see with Jesus in the attitude that he had towards those people who were hurting. Jesus had a very different approach where he was willing to care about people, people even who had sinned. He was willing to extend mercy and grace to them and bring redemption into their hearts and their lives, and to love on them and to lead them gently out of the place of brokenness that they were in. And the people that were in brokenness, that were maybe an invalid, we see at times that that same attitude, the Pharisees actually carried the same attitude of some of these people. I remember the time when Jesus had healed an invalid, right? And no, it wasn't Jesus. It was the disciples who had this was after Jesus had resurrected, and the disciples had healed an invalid, and the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were drilling the man and asking him about Jesus and who was it that did this, and what did the man who had been healed, what did he believe? And he was like, and they were like, they said, this man, Jesus, he's a sinner, and what do you have to say about him? And the man says, well, a sinner, I don't know, but what I do know, I was blind, but now I see. I think he was a blind man, and on another occasion, somebody asked, so he was like, do you want to follow him too? And they said, basically they tossed him out and said, you were steeped in birth, you were steeped in sin from your birth. And so they had this attitude that the man must have been born an invalid, either because of his own sin or even the sins of his parents. And we see the disciples at one time asking Jesus, who sinned that this man would be born paralyzed? And again, that was a predominant philosophy of the day, kind of almost even a self-righteousness would come in and say, well, if they were an invalid, if they were paralyzed, it must be because they deserved it, or their parents caused a chain reaction that they are that way. And Jesus, he redirects and says, no, it wasn't because somebody sinned, but so that God would be glorified. He was like, this is a moment that you're going to see the glory of God working in this person's life, and he was healed. And so again, I'm just saying, rather than trying to jump to judgment, maybe we should jump to, believing God for healing in people's lives, and leaning towards mercy and towards grace rather than towards, judgment and criticism. Yeah, I think that's part of, Micah 6:8 says, he has shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee. To do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And if we can do that, we seek justice for people, and that's justice in saying, who are those people who are marginalized that need somebody to stand up for them, people who are hurting that need somebody to stand up. And he says, and Another thing is to have mercy and to walk humbly with God. Walk humbly, not prideful. Be a humble person when you're treating others, when you're dealing with others, and treat them like you would want to be treated. So good lessons for us to learn as we read through the book of Job. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow as we jump back into Job chapter 19. Hope you have a really great day.